Hello everyone. Welcome to Amrita IAS monthly current affairs series, and we're starting with polity of May month. So we'll start with the constitutional crisis that has came in the May month. So what was the constitutional crisis? So Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, who has become the chief minister of Maharashtra after a lot of what I should say political situation that was developed in Maharashtra. So, but he was not elected. Uddhav Thackeray was not elected, right? So he has to become a member of the either legislative assembly or legislative council within the 6 month. So it is the constitutional requirement under Article 164(4). So it says that any minister, anyone for a period of 6 months is not a member of legislative of the state shall at the expiration of period cease to be the member, right? So within the 6 month he has to become a member. However, the EC has postponed the election to the legislative council, so he decided to become the member of the legislative council, similar to the Rajya Sabha. For example, Mr. Jaishankar is now a member of Rajya Sabha. He was not elected, now he is a member of Rajya Sabha. He has to become a member of Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha within 6 months, right? But EC said no, due to lockdown, due to pandemic, we cannot hold the election. So if the election could not be held, he has to resign. And when the chief minister has to resign, then the whole government resigns. Then it would have created a lot of constitutional crisis or a lot of mismanagement in Maharashtra. So Mr. Uddhav Thackeray dialed to Mr. Modi and told him, first of all, they wanted to nominate him. They wanted to nominate him to the legislative council, but that did not happen. The governor did not agree. Then he called Mr. Modi up. Not very important, just to get to know the political angle. When he called our Prime Minister, I hope he would have told the governor. Then the governor decided to hold he has given the directions to the election commission that go ahead and hold the election. Then elections were held, and finally he became the member of the legislative council, and then he became the chief minister of Maharashtra again. Okay, so just the double application of Article 164. That means 6 months he was there. Then again, can he apply for again 6 months? Just like you can say repromulgation of the ordinance. So in this case, that is SR Chaudhary versus State of Punjab and the others, Supreme Court has said that it will tantamount to the subversion of the principle of the representative government, because you are not elected, you have not become the part of the legislative wing of the government, and when that is not there, that is not applicable to the representative government, right? So this is that. So I hope you know this. For 6 months they can become a member of any cabinet. They can become minister of central or the state cabinet executive, but within the 6 months they have to become a member of the legislative council, legislative part of the legislative, whether it be parliament, within the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, or within the state, within the become an MLA or MLC. Okay, so that's it. Next is principle of strict liability. So basically it was in the news because of the Vizag gas leak. So NGT applied the principle of the strict liability. However, some of the lawyers says that they should not have applied the principle of strict liability. They should have applied the principle of an absolute liability. We will discuss both of them. Okay. So principle of strict liability, what does this mean? So a party is not liable and need not pay compensation in a hazardous substance escape their premises by accident or by an act of God. So that means you are a company, something happens in your company. If the principle of strict liability is applied, and if any case happens and you can justify that it is by accident or by an act of God, for example earthquake comes, then you are not liable for anything. Okay, then you need not pay the compensation. Getting my point? That is strict liability. However, this was made redundant by Supreme Court. Supreme Court has said no, strict liability is not too much applicable. In 1986, the famous MC Mehta cases, the environmental activist. So in the oleum gas leak case of Delhi, the Supreme Court found strict liability woefully inadequate, that it is very inadequate to protect the citizen rights in India, in an industrialized economy like India, and replace it with absolute liability. So the principle of strict liability was replaced with the principle of the absolute liability. Okay, so what does absolute liability says? Absolute liability says that hazardous industry cannot claim any exemption. So there is no absolute non-delegable duty to the community, that your duty belongs to the community, you are responsible. Okay. And then Public Liability Insurance Act 1991 has come. It imposed the no fault liability on the owner. Okay. And the NGT works on the principle of the no fault liability. This is the principle on which NGT works. So this was in news, right? So some of the lawyers have said that the NGT should have used the absolute liability rather than the strict liability. So NGT has used the principle of strict liability, just to inform you. That was the context in which we are discussing it. So going in the background, so MC Mehta versus Union of India case, they found strict liability to be inadequate. The judgment came in the oleum gas leak that has happened in the fertilizer plant of the Shriram Food and Fertilizers. So this oleum or sulfuric acid has came out and it created problems, right? So the court argued in the context of the Article 21, the absolute liability. The context of the absolute liability comes from the Article 21, that is right to life. Okay. Then if we discuss something about NGT, so NGT is a specialized body. NGT, that is tribunal. We have already discussed tribunal in detail, if you remember. So tribunal is a basically, you can say, this is executive, this is judiciary. So not a strict separation of power. In this arena this lies. So providing speedy, specialized and very cheap justice, less costly justice is done by the NGT. From the name itself, Green Tribunal. So it will use for the environmental governance, for adjudication of the cases that are related to the environment. Very easy. So effective and expeditious disposal of the cases related to the environment. So India became the third country to set up an specialized environment tribunal after the Australia and New Zealand, right? So NGT is mandated to take the disposal of the cases and appeal finally within the 6 months. So these are few things you need to remember from the point of view of prelims, that they have to dispose the case within the 6 months of the filing. They have 6 places of sitting. New Delhi is the principal seat. Then they have in Bhopal, remember, you can remember from Bhopal gas strategy as well, Bhopal, Pune, Kolkata and Chennai. So they have some in center. Delhi is there, Pune, Chennai and Kolkata. Okay. Then the structure, just to have an idea, so they have a chairperson, a judicial member and an expert member. When I was discussing the tribunal, I told you, right? So tribunal will have a judicial component and a person from the expert. That is why they will deliver the judgment on these tricky aspects such as tax, such as environment. Okay. So the chairman is appointed by the central government in consultation with CJI, so as we discuss executive and judiciary. So select committee formed by the central government to appoint the judicial member in the expert committee, at least 10 and maximum 20 member judicial members and expert member, not very important. Power and jurisdiction, just have an idea. So it has jurisdiction of all the civil cases that are related, that involve a substantial question related to the environment. They also have appellate jurisdiction, remember it. Okay. So here as an appeal, here as a court, it can see the appeal cases as well. More importantly, it is not bound by the procedure laid down by the Code of Civil Procedure, that is CPC, and that is the applicable to all the tribunals, and that is why they provide the easy justice, expeditious justice, because they are not bound by the Civil Procedure Code. They are bounded by the principle of natural justice, and that is what one of the shortcomings of this tribunal is, because based upon the concept of the natural justice, they become a bit hazy. They become structure is not there. So a lot of whims, fancies, you can say, a lot of work is on the subjective end rather than objectively based upon the clearly laid down procedure. Those things are not there, and that is one of the problems with the tribunal. With respect to tribunal, one question in the mains has already been asked, so we don't expect the question to come again, because in that year a law commission's report has come with respect to tribunal. Okay, so while passing an order or decision, it shall apply the principle of sustainable development, precautionary principle, polluters pay principle. So these are the basic principles that are part of the environmental governance. They apply those principles. NJT by an order can give the relief and compensation to the victims, restitution of the property and damage, right? Restitution of the environment, and it has to be executable as a decree of the civil court. If you do not do the compliance, they can also provide for the penalty. Again, not very important. Just need to know that they can also provide for the penalty, because the question will be a tough question, not an easy question on NGT, because NGT information is in the public domain. The student is expected to know about NGT. Okay, in the main exam as well, the question on the NGT can come in your GS2 paper. So the appeal against the order of the NGT lies to the Supreme Court within the 90 days from the date of communication. So you can see that. So NGT has given the order, it can go to the Supreme Court. It relates to the 7 laws. So remember all these laws, but more importantly, remember the law on which it does not give jurisdiction, that is Wildlife Protection Act. Just one second. Yes, Wildlife Protection Act. All other acts are there. Biodiversity Act is there. You can see Public Life Insurance, Liability Insurance. We have seen Environment Protection Act, Air Act, Water Act, Forest Act. So these all acts are there, but that act is not there. One more act in 2006, FRA, is also not there. So when the question will come, they'll focus on these acts only. Okay, so this is NGT. Then is Interstate Migrant Act 1979. Not very important, I'll say, because this act itself is forgotten. Many of the activists have said that government itself does not follow this act. So this act is basically, it is called Regulation of Employment and Condition of Service. It seeks to have the data and regulate the employment of the interstate migrants. Okay, so it is applicable to all the establishment and that have 5 or plus migrant worker, right, to the contractors who employ such migrant workers. So it is applicable to those people. So what they are supposed to do, they are supposed to do have a certification of registration from the relevant authority that they are employing these interstate migrants. So when they'll apply for that thing, then they'll have the data. Okay, this many people are working at this particular place, but you know, this is not a and so that the government can also ensure their rights and all these things, right? The government can also provide good services, but again, this right is not this act is not too much applicable. People do not follow this act. It helps the government, as we discussed, to keep track of the. So this was the question: how they will be protected. This act should be brought under the labor code that are being discussed. We'll discuss somewhere the labor codes, the 4 labor codes that are being discussed. So this is that. One of the major topic that for discussion we will take up today, that is reservation. So all the aspects related to reservation that are relevant for us from prelims perspective, we will all see that. So starting with the constitutional provisions that are there for the reservation. So Article 15(4) is there, right? So it allows the state to make the special provisions for advancement of socially and educationally backward classes. Please keep in mind the word which are present in our constitution. Okay, socially and educationally backward classes of citizen for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. They have extended this to admission to the education institution by the 93rd Amendment Act, except for the minority education institutions. So this is Article 15(4). Then we have Article 16(4) that is related to the public employment. Okay, so that earlier one can be seen as an affirmative action. This is a concrete provision that relates to the public employment. So the state can make provision for the reservation appointments and posts in the favor of the backward class, if they are not adequately represented under the services under the state. Then we have the DPSP as well. DPSP Article 46, which says that promotion of educational and economic interests of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other weaker section. Okay, protecting them from social injustice and all form of exploitation. So that is under Article 46. Then we have Article 243D, which talks about the reservation of seats of SC and ST. Within that, it also talks about the reservation of women as well. And then Article 243T for the first for panchayat, then for municipality. So these are different articles. Article 330 and Article 332 are for 330 and 332. This is for parliament. This is for legislative assembly for reservation of the people from SC and ST background to this parliament and legislative assembly. Okay, so this is article 330 and 332. Article 334 was also there, that related to the article just one second. 330 and 3 article for Anglo-Indians, article 331. Okay, so article 331 was also there for Anglo-Indian, and that was taken down by 104th Constitutional Amendment Act, or you can say 126th Constitutional Amendment Bill. I hope I have discussed this. I know I have discussed this with you, that Constitutional Amendment Bill number is different and Constitutional number Act number is different. So when there are so many bills are listed which come in the order, they are listed in the act in the time of the bill, in the number of the bill. But not all the bills become act. For example, the reservation for women, that is still a bill, that has not become an act. So it is counted in this list, bill list, and then second list is an act list. So do not get confused, right? So that is 104th Constitutional Amendment Act. So they have finished that, remove the provision for nominating Anglo-Indians to the Lok Sabha and the Legislative Assembly. That this thing we have already discussed in detail. Okay, and they have extended the reservation to SC and ST, because that is article 334 says that, earlier it said that it will extend only for 10 years. So we always do the amendment to keep on amending it. Then just to have some idea about reservation, so it's an affirmative action. Very quickly, a percentage of seats are reserved for the government services and educational institutions, for socially educated backward class, right, if they're adequately represented. The language that we have seen in article 15.4 and 16.4. Then recently, 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act, they have provided the reservation to the economically weaker section, 10% reservation apart from the 50% reservation that is already there. Okay, so reservation are recently provided 130 to the EWS category. So already we have reservation for the SC 15%, scheduled tribe 7.5%, then 27% for the OBCs, then 10% for the EWS. So this is 60%. Then we have 3% reservation from the people belonging to the PWD, person with disability, and that reservation comes from the Person with Disability Act 1995 and recently amendment in 2016 or 2017. Okay, but this reservation is an horizontal reservation. Vertical reservation is what? Reservation to the scheduled caste such as SC, ST and OBC. This is vertical reservation, all are counted. Horizontal reservation is reservation within the reservation. For example, when the reservation for women in the parliament will come, okay, so that will also be for example, reservation for PWDs is there, so that is a horizontal reservation. So within these categories, the PWDs will also get the reservation. That will not extend into overall 60. That will not stretch this 60 boundary, right? So let us see some judicial pronouncement that are there with respect to the reservation. So it started with the state of Madras versus the Champakam Dorai Rajan case. Very famous Champakam Dorai Rajan case, 1951. Okay, so it upheld the Madras High Court. So Madras High Court has struck down in 1927 Government Act, which was there, which provided caste-based reservation. Madras High Court said, no, this will not be done, right? And the Champakaram Dorai Rajan case, the Supreme Court has upheld the Madras Court judgment. Very quickly, right? So the government said, no, we have to provide reservation. Hence, they inserted Article 15.4. So that was inserted through an amendment. Keep this in mind. That was the very first amendment, right? Then, so Constitutional Amendment Act happened. Then the reservation started and all these things. Then coming to 1992, very seminal judgment, that is Indra Seve Sone that versus the Union of India. So the judgment says that 27% reservation to the backward class was constitutionally upheld on the recommendation of the Mandal Commission report, very famous report. Okay, but they said that overall reservation should not cross the 50% boundary, and that is why when the EWS Act has came 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act, many people say that it will not uphold or it will not survive the judicial scrutiny, because in the Indra Sawhney case, the Supreme Court has said that the reservation should not pass this 50% criteria. But I think that PIL is pending in the Supreme Court. Then one more observation that Indra Sawhney case has given, that this reservation policy will not extend to the promotion. One more thing, it said that there should be creamy layer in the OBC category. Okay, so these are the things that were said in this 1992 case. Then the government came out in 1995 and 77th Constitutional Amendment Act, and they inserted one other clause in Article 16 which enabled state to make law regarding the reservation in promotion. Now they started talking about reservation in promotion. In 85th Constitutional Amendment Act, the concept of the consequential seniority has come to the SC and ST promotes. We'll discuss this consequential seniority. Then in 2006, very important judgment, that is Nagaraj versus Union of India judgment, has come in 2006. What happened in there? So M. Nagaraj versus the Lakshmi Narayan Gupta, this case, this is not Lakshmi Narayan Gupta, this is Union of India case. So M. Nagaraj versus the, this is Lakshmi Narayan is here. So Nagaraj versus the, just one second. So we have this, yes. So M. Nagaraj versus the Union of India case. In that, the Supreme Court has said, okay, that's fine. You are extending the reservation to promotion to the SC and ST category, but it should be based upon the 3 conditions. What are these 3 conditions? First, a state has to provide the proof of backwardness of the class benefiting from the reservation. So the proof has to be provided by the state, first thing. Second thing, a state has to collect the quantifiable data showing the inadequacy of the representation. So some data has to be created by the state on basis of which the reservation will be extended. Okay, then the state has to show how the reservation will further the administrative efficiency, how the reservation will lead to the administrative efficiency. Now many commentators have come out and said that what Supreme Court has said is not very applicable on ground, right? And that is why the government again said that the Supreme Court must revise his M. Nagaraj judgment. Okay, so the center wants to create a 7-bench seat to decide on this M. Nagaraj case. Okay, now recently in 2018, in this Jarnail Singh versus Lakshmi Narayan Gupta case, Supreme Court has said that government need not have this quantifiable data. So this quantifiable data thing is diluted by the Supreme Court, that okay, the government need not produce this quantifiable data to demonstrate the backwardness of the public employee to this SC and ST, to provide reservation to them in promotion, right? So currently the situation is the government wants the Supreme Court to create a higher judge bench for reconsideration of M. Nagaraj case. However, the Supreme Court itself has downgraded the requirements it has said to provide reservation in promotion. Now recently Supreme Court has upheld the Karnataka law for SC and ST in promotion, and that also goes to show the Supreme Court's acceptance of the consequential seniority. So what is this consequential seniority? Very easy to understand. Let us see. So let us see, there is a person A who belongs to a general category and currently holds the level 3 in the government post, right? So there is person A and person B. They are at the level 3. Just one second. Let us also use the different pens. So level 3, they are there, Mr. A and Mr. B. But Mr. A is senior and Mr. B is junior. Mr. A belongs to general category. Mr. B belongs to this reserve category. Okay. So this is the scenario. Now, for example, for level 4, there are some the promotion has to be decided, right? So due to reservation in promotion has to be this B has to be promoted to level 4 before A. Okay, because there are no scheduled caste candidates are at the senior position as the level of A. Getting my point? For example, the promotion has to be done to the level 4, but there are no person like A in this category that will be promoted here. So what it will be done? Mr. B will be promoted instead, because there are no SC person or no person from the reserve category was there. So Mr. B has to be promoted. Now when Mr. B is promoted, now the question is, for example, after a while Mr. A is also promoted, then who will be senior at the level 4? Who will be senior? Whether the A will retain his seniority or whether the B will retain his seniority? So the answer is the A will not regain his seniority. Okay, so let us quickly revise it again. It's a bit complicated, I know. So there are two levels. Let us decide the two levels first. Okay, so there are two levels. So Mr. A is there and Mr. B is there. Mr. A, who belongs to general category, and Mr. B belongs to the reserve category. Mr. A is senior at level 3, let's say level 3 or level 2, whatever you want to say, and he is the junior. Now so he has to, some senior has to be promoted to both general category and the reserve category, but there is no person from the reserve category is there. So Mr. B will be promoted to the reserve category of level 4 before Mr. A, right? Now when the Mr. A is eventually promoted, then the question becomes, who will be the senior at level 4, so that at level 5, whenever the reservation will be there, the promotion will be there, who will be promoted first? So there, because Mr. B has been promoted first, because he belongs to the reserve category, he will be promoted first. I hope now you get it. So Mr. B will basically become the senior of Mr. A, because there was no other person of the scheduled caste which was equal to the level of Mr. A. So this is the consequential, sorry, I'm just not able to pronounce it correctly, consequential seniority. Okay, so this is that. So Andhra Pradesh, so what was the context in which we are discussing the reservation? So in Andhra Pradesh, Supreme Court has scrapped 100% reservation for scheduled for people for scheduled area, tribals for scheduled area. So in Andhra Pradesh, they created a law that 100% reservation will be given to STs for the post of teacher. It was there in the scheduled areas. Now we have discussed scheduled areas of 5th schedule in detail in the last month, right? In April month polity, we have discussed that. So the Supreme Court has said, the judgment said that first of all, this 100% reservation is not good, because that 1992 judgment said that it cannot proceed more than 50%. Then they also said that equality of opportunity and pursuit of choice cannot be deprived of arbitrarily, because they said that though is it a scheduled area, yes, it's a scheduled area, but also there also these general people, this OBC, they also live, this SC people also live. Why are they depriving them of having the chance to serve, right? It also held that, now we have discussed, while discussing the scheduled area in the 5th schedule, that governor has a lot of power. So that they have said the power of the governor to make the modification exception to the parliamentary law under the 5th schedule does not entitle him to substitute the law or make a new law altogether. Please keep in mind, because we already discussed the 5th schedule, there I also mentioned this thing, that Supreme Court has recently said that the governor can only do some sort of modification and exceptions thing that will not be applicable to the scheduled areas, right? We have discussed the 10 states which are there. I hope you can recall. If you have not recalled, please go and download the PPT, or you can see the video again, right? So these are the things. Last topic, that is creamy layer. So the concept of genesis, as we have discussed, Indra Sawhney case 1992, where they have said that define the criteria based upon income, property, and status, those who will be not getting the benefits of the OBC reservation. So currently the creamy layer is applicable only to the OBC class. Supreme Court in the recent in the last judgment, Jarnail Singh judgment, they have also said that find out some sort of quasi creamy layer in the SC categories, SC and ST categories as well, because a lot of benefits are being taken up by a minority within these reserve categories. So majority of the people who are deserving, they are not getting the proper benefits. So at present, Group P, Group A and Group B officers of both central and the state, if they are getting more than 8 lakh per annum, armed forces and PSUs, if they are earning more than 8 lakh per annum, they are outside the purview of the creamy layer. Okay, so I think that's all we have to discuss in this session. Let us very quickly revise. So we started with the discussion on the constitutional crisis in Maharashtra, Article 164 4 portion. That is, he has to become, Mr. Uddhav Thackeray has to become a member of the Legislative Assembly or Council. He was trying to become a member of Legislative Council to remain Chief Minister. Then we have discussed the principle of strict liability, principle of absolute liability, right? Then we have discussed the Green and GT and why it was not applicable to the Wildlife Protection Act, FRA of 2006 and these Act. Then Interstate Migration Act 1979 we have discussed, not very important. Then reservation, we have seen the constitutional provisions, the context of the reservation, different criterias. Then very detailed we have seen the judicial pronouncement, both normal reservation and with respect to the reservation in promotion. Then we have discussed consequential seniority, and finally we have ended our discussion with the discussion on the creamy layer. So with this we finish our session of polity May month. So we have finished 12 months. I have not realized it. So 12 months from June 19 to May 20. So we are finishing the 12th month of the polity session, isn't it? That's a big achievement. I feel so, because we have taken such a comprehensive course on current affairs. So we'll be finishing the economy very quickly, and see you in the next class, everyone. Science and tech will be uploaded simultaneously, and then we'll finish the economy, and very quickly we'll start the June and July month as well. So see you in the next class, everyone. Thank you.